Discord to do. All right, so just to review, because we need the review, not going into specifics, but we clearly need the review. Mondays are at 7 and will be via Zoom. Tuesdays are at 6:30, which is when we rehearse in person from 6:30 to 9. So I think it's easier to keep the Zoom times the same, even though we will not rehearse on Zoom from 6:30 to 9. In fact, tomorrow will only probably be about a half an hour. So case count updates. I was really hopeful that we'd be in person next week. I am not as hopeful right now. Jennifer, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I just want to add that we have active outbreaks at 4 of the facilities that I take my students to. I can't go into it further than that, but yeah.
So I'll continue to watch it. I'm really hungry to get into a room together. But I also don't want to blow it by jumping a week earlier than we need to. So, and again, just a reminder, in addition to everything we talked about last Monday, when we resume, do not come to rehearsal if you have any symptoms. Like, even if you think it might be allergies, even if you know, or whatever, if you have symptoms, do not come to rehearsal. We will figure out how to catch you up. That is a complete U-turn from normally what I would say, which is if you have symptoms, just sit in the back and take notes if you feel well enough to do that. Not saying that at all right now. So, okay. The Google Classroom. So some of the challenges we had with the assignment were not just the substance of the assignment, but turning the assignment in. So I just wanted to review again that when you click on the assignment, it will open up, and in the top right-hand corner of the screen is a plus sign, and it allows you to drop files in. I am disappointed to learn that it doesn't work that easily on your phone. You have to, if you're recording yourself on your phone, it seems like it's best to drop the file onto your laptop or computer and then open Google Classroom from there. But I am checking with Amber, who was not able to do any homework on this today, to see if there's a better way to do that. I just wanted to take a quick note to say, I love how we communicated with each other in the stream this week. Please keep that up. If I don't see it, Heidi does or Amber does, and one of us can respond or help you troubleshoot. So that was really, really great. The most recent addition to the stream is a great piece of information that Jennifer gave me yesterday. Thank you, Jennifer. If you have a Timberland Regional Library card, you get 400 copies on their big fancy copy machine a month. And so you could probably take, I don't know if they have web access for their copy machine or not. They might, particularly.
They do. Can I
that's awesome.
Interject really quick? So it's really slick. The librarians can show you how to do it if you've never done it. You can upload anything that you have on the internet via your card and print it via download. Once you've done it before, it's really easy. I do this for work all the time. And you can just print via WebServe straight to their printer, or you can go to one of their computers and print, or you can photocopy, and it all comes out of your TRL card.
So that's just awesome. So if anybody's having a hardship printing the score, for now, that's an option, but there will be sections of the score that we will need to reprint as John makes updates. So keep that in mind so that it doesn't hit your budget. Okay, so under the classwork tab again is where the Zoom recordings from last week. So did everybody find where the Zoom recordings were from last week? Was that clear for everybody? Anybody have any questions about that? It's good to see you, Amy. You feeling better? You had a long gig at the farmer's market, dude. That was a long time to play.
Yeah.
How did it go?
It went well, and upright bass. Robert, the comedian.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be a drummer, and he told Daryl that he thought the bass sounded great and added a lot to the group.
Of course, bass always does. Don't tell Eric that, but yes, bass always does. All right, bravo. All right, I just wanted to make sure everybody found the resources there. And again, and how that's all sort of going to sort out. I will continue to add movement specific notes to specific sections for the next couple of Zoom gatherings that are going to be about a movement in a specific movement. These recordings will go under that movement in the Google Classroom. Okay, they won't be in the general Zoom meeting sort of category until we've gone through all 5 movements, and then they'll be okay. I think that was it. So now let's get into the movement. Hey Aaron, I just saw Aaron come in. Hey there.
Hi.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about movement 2B of Borders. So the first thing to talk about is why there is a movement 2B. And that is because there is a movement 2A. So 2B is the back half of one movement, and the front half is our first soprano solo. Which is an Irish Mother's Prayer, and it's the beginning of a major theme in the piece, which is the role of mothers, particularly with displaced peoples, and why, and their perspectives in a lot of different ways, both in the music and in some of the quotes that are curated for movement 4. So that's why it's movement 2B. That's what John did rather than doing it a separate movement. So I'm sticking with that because that's what it'll look like in your scores. So this movement is the movement that sets Emma Lazarus's poem, A New Colossus. Everybody's familiar with this, yes? This is the poem that is inscribed at the base of the Statue of Liberty. So the movement omits the first 2 lines and starts with, "Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch." Okay, so this poem was commissioned for the Statue of Liberty when it was put up. And so after we hear this aria about an Irish mother, and it's literally a setting of a letter, an actual letter that was written of an Irish mother to her son who is in the States, basically not giving him very happy updates and begging him to help her move to America. So again, these sections here are not things I'm going to go through tonight, but they are things I'm going to refer back to. So again, when this slide deck is posted in the classroom, just if you need a place to refer back to in terms of, he says the first section, what is that, or whatever. So in this first section, for the first section, I'm going to go through it a little bit once I play it. There's some cool things there. This is the first time I've appended a note to a section, so I'll talk more about those in a second. All right, so let's play it and listen through it. Oh, wait. You're not hearing that, are you?
No.
Yeah, because I didn't share my sound. So hold on, let me do that. Let me do the share again. You'd think, again, with the number of times a day I do this, I'd stop making this rookie mistake. Hear it now? And then that cuts off there in a really abrupt place, because then we go into we have no need, which is movement 3, which we talked about last week. All right, so we're going to listen to that again today because this is a shorter movement and we have the time. And there's some things I want to talk about as they're happening. But first, let's see. Let me remind myself. Yeah, I'll go back. Let's see. I might not be able to go forward there. Okay. So there are challenges here, just like movement 3. We have mixed meter. I'm going to talk about the flickering flame motive, which is whose flame is the who's da da da. Just want to point that out. It's not hard to sing, but we want to hear the flicker and the flame. We don't want it to be, don't aim at it and sort of get there. Da ba da da. So really play with that a little bit. It should be fun, just that little bit. The other 16th note sections that follow it are just mirroring it. It's that flickering flame that's the important part. The big thing in this movement are the diphthongs. So if you are not sure what a diphthong is, I'm going to tell you. A diphthong is something we have in the English language. We're not the only one to have it, but we have a lot of them in English, where it looks like what you're singing is one vowel, but what you're actually singing is 2 or more vowels. So if it's 2, it's a diphthong. If it's 3, it's a triphthong. Diphthongs are what we most commonly come across, and a common one is the word L-I-G-H-T. So you'd think that's a long I sound, I, right? But I is not a vowel in and of itself. It's 2 vowels smashed together. It's A-E, I. And so when we're singing in English, we always prioritize the first of those 2 vowels because you can't sing both of them at once. So if we're singing light, we sing la, we sing ah, and then we just tap the E as we're closing to the T. So it's light. And you don't even have to worry about the E. You can just sing a pure light, and just closing to the T will change your phonation to give, it will read as light. However, when you are singing diphthongs, this is what we tend to do if we don't bring our consciousness to it. We do this, light, where it's a moving diphthong throughout. And that's a problem because we don't all do it together if we do it as singers. So that sounds really weird when the choirs, it makes it seem really messy while we're all on the same word. But then even if we're all moving the diphthong at the same time, and I've had this experience, it sounds even weirder. Have the choir or whatever. So it's really important to train yourself on staying on the pure vowels. And there are a bunch of different ways to do that. You can cross out the word light, for example, and write la with a T at the end. Play mental games with yourself, however it works for you to practice. So the diphthongs we have here that are problematic are same vowel, exiles. So exiles, not exiles, exiles. So that's the first one. Tired. Tired is a hard word to sing. It's a hard word to sing. So we have the diphthong in the front half. So it's ta. And then you don't want to, but then you don't want to do yerd, tired. That's just not a pretty sound. So what I have here is a suggestion to think about. Spell it however you want. Spell it phonetically however you want. Tired. So think like the same vowel you'd use for could, would, should. Tired. Think about that, okay? So, and then the diphthong we have in silent in measures 25 and 27, which I'll point out. And it's when, I'm going to point it out actually as I play things, but let me just talk through it quick. And then we have a leap right after that, which I just know is a challenge. And so I want everybody to think about it. It's only in, I think, 2 of the parts, not all 4. And then a change that we're going to make from the first of our changes from last time that we're going to experiment with. So let me stop and start it now, playing through it, talking through some of this, and then I'll bring up the music to look at. Here comes the flickering flame. So actually, while I'm thinking about it, you'll notice there's one other change to the poetry that John made. He said sunset gates there stands rather than shall stand, because that's more appropriate because it's now standing where this was written before it was erected. So what do you think you need to make that flame motif come off clear? Any ideas what you need in your technique to do that? It's going to be counterintuitive to what you're going to want to do. With that kind of motive, you're going to want to back off of it. Instead, don't make it louder, but feed it more air. Give it more air to really energize those 16th notes. Now, when you first start playing with that, it is going to make it louder. It is. But if you start that now at the beginning, you'll be able to get that into context so that it doesn't leap out suddenly as the loud part, then recede back into the texture there. So start working on supporting that and having fun with it. It's just really fun. We only have it in two voices. We have it in the soprano and the tenor. So but it can't be lazy, it can't be under supported, and it can't be imprecise. It's got to be exactly those notes. All right, let's continue. Oh, yeah. Here comes the first exiles. Alto's doing an excellent job there. Mild is another good song. Not as hard though. Okay, so that's measures 1 through 20. Right? And then the next section is Keep Ancient Lands. Yep. So now in Keep Ancient Lands, this next section, this is a real vowel exercise. Now listen to each of these silents. Silent. That was really well done there. This is the hard one. Yes, that I want to do a better job with. It still pulls. I'll go with I need the nose. With silence. I like the bass line better. Yeah. With silent. If you hear in the recording, it's very much, oh, there's Maureen. It's very much with silent. There's a little bit of that pull, and there's a lot of good reason for that. It's suddenly in the lower part of the register, we're tired because we've just sung a lot. Breathing in, we have only a quarter rest to tank back up before this long line that then is not only that, but is with silent lips. And then we get to the low note, and then we have to lift back up again right when we're at the lowest part in our tank. And so if and when you're practicing this, if you're struggling with that, oh, there's so many good reasons. Bravo for you. That's not you. You are not crazy. That is the way the music is written. So that said, this is an area to really keep your attention on. So the way I would practice it, I would start right there at that hard part. And once I had that sort of my breath moving properly on that, then I'd add the part before and tag that on. And then I'd keep moving back. Does that make sense? I see faces of confusion. So I would start with that last tag, that last repetition with silent lips. And then once I had that, I would back up and I would add the second of the 3 repetitions of With Silent Lips and put those 2 together. And then after I had those 2, then I would go back and add the first one and sing that entire section, all 3 of those phrases together, and really practice using my fuel efficiently to get to where I need to get to, so that the last With Silent Lips matches the first 2 better than what we did here, which is still beautiful because the music's beautiful and we're doing a great job. But I'm nitpicking now because we're doing it again and we're going to record it. So it's even harder for the tenors. So Farron, keep in mind of that. It's even harder for the tenors there. And I think for when we are singing in person, I think I'm thinking in our configuration, this is an aside, that will probably be in the round, so that we can practice in a safe way where I can manage the way I'm thinking about managing the aerosols is better if we're in the round. Let me say it that way, which means I think I'm going to stand and sing with the tenor section. So Farron, you and I will be singing together. I'm kind of looking forward to that. So anyway, so that's what's going on there. And again, you need enough fuel not only to manage keeping that diphthong and the ah clear through silent, but then that you have enough air to do that leap in the end. Then the last thing I want to change is in measures 38 and 39. Yeah, send these homeless. And this, of course, is the famous part of the poem. Okay. And this is measures 33 through 46. You hear that tired? That's hard to sing. That's what I want to change. We sang such a beautiful line there. I love it. Send these the homeless tempest tossed to me is so great. We sing such a gorgeous line there. But what I think I'd like is send these the homeless tempest tossed to me with little breaks in between where the commas are, where send these the homeless tempest tossed to me, rather than sing it all one phrase. So this is an opportunity for me to talk to you about what a Luftpause is. So because we should write them differently in our music. And so what that is a lift. And what that means is I'm going to stop the phonation, but I am not going to breathe. And there's a completely different character when you do that. And additionally, there's a different character to the continuation and the maintenance of momentum in the sound. But also, if you try to sneak in a breath, you are going to muck up the tempo. No matter what, it's just going to take time, and it's going to muck up the tempo, and it's going to muck up our onset. So what I'm hoping to experiment with is send these the homeless tempest tossed to me. So the way we write that in the score is normally the way you write in a breath is a comma, or more commonly a check mark. So the sign for a lift pause, is a little tiny check mark. So however you want to notate that, but for those of us who have sung it before, this is going to require some conscious attention to your muscle memory. So just wanted to point that out. And because I'm the diva conductor, I reserve the right to change it back after you've done this work, because it might sound better. So, but I suspect that this will be a little bit more meaningful, and it will push the text out a little bit more and foreground the text a little bit more. So with all that, now we've listened to movement to the better part of twice. Listen to movement 3B. And then again, your pour is interrupted again because we use that as the intro to movement 3C, which will attack in another class. All right, so but same music, different tempo, but it brings in the only addition is the treble choir coming in, adding back in the Salish Song of Welcome from movement 1, which we have not covered yet, but which is the central musical theme of the piece. So for you get 2 movements for the price of 1 when you learn this one. So, which is the same with movement 1 as well. So a couple of additional things. So again, here's the flickering flame motive right here. It's this 16th note. Let me get my annotation. Let's do red. Ooh, let's do pink. Here's where the flickering flame motive is. The tenors and the sopranos have it. And it has to be, you got to have a big breath right here. So it's whose flame. You know, can you hear? I give that a lot of air. It's not whose flame. It can't be that, or that's going to really add that inherent laziness in it is going to get multiplied across every single singer. So you need you all to play with whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and play with singing that entire line. So you don't have to do what I just did and take a catch breath right before lightning, but I'm also seated right now. So does that make sense in terms of the flickering flame? First thing to pay attention to there. I like that nobody's commenting, that it's me talking about flickering flames. Thank you. All right, so, oh, look at that. I got to get rid of the annotations so they come across on the next slide. So undo, 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 undo. Okay. All right, so it's this line here, silent lips. So silent lips with silent lips. That's hard. With silent lips. That takes a lot of air. So play with that, because again, I can't tell you enough, when you start using a lot more air than you're used to using, you are going to lose control of the sound. And please live with that. Please be okay with cracking. Please be okay with your intonation not being perfect. Please be okay with not being able to be delicate with your onsets and offsets, and just be with the air for a little bit. All of that finesse skill that you have will come back, but you won't be able to integrate it with that greater amount of air if you try to practice them separately. So just live with it awkward if it creates awkwardness for you on that. Okay, so there's that. So, and it's that duet between the basses and the tenors that we really need to make sure that that vowel stays really consistent. All right, and then I don't need the annotation menu. I need that menu. And this is where I want to add the lifts. And this I am going to use an annotation. So I'm going to use red on this. So where we want the lifts is send these. Where did my pencil go? Send these, the homeless tempest tossed to me. So visually, in fact, in the next edition of the score, I might ask John to break this into 2 separate eighth notes so that that's visually a little clearer there. So, but that's where, oops, not there. There. Oh, I can undo. I can undo. I can undo. I need an undo button for my life. Right? Wouldn't that be handy? So lifts in these places. Okay, now it's not wanting to. Okay, whatever. I'm tired of fighting with this. All right, but you get what I'm talking about there. So lifts in all those places. Okay. All right. Your homework is to do exactly what you did or should have done this last week, which is to record yourself counting through movement 2B, preferably with the subdivisions of and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and. This one will be much easier. The tempo is not nearly as racing as movement 3. It reinforces the same skill. In fact, if you prioritize doing this one first, I bet you movement 3 might be easier. And I wanted to show when you click on the assignment in Google Classroom, it's not intuitive, but you'll see it right here. You can click this plus sign to add, and that'll allow you to upload any kind of file. An MP4, a WAV file, a voice memo, whatever, however it's easier for you to play the music on one device and record it on another so that you can drop a file in as your homework. All right, any questions about movement 2B? Go ahead, Janine.
Okay, could you do me a huge favor
Yes.
and at least count me through the first couple bars
Absolutely.
of today's or next time's homework?
Yep.
Next.
It's so if we're just looking right at page 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, you
2B.
should be looking at a score that's got 2 bars of silence first.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay,
Yep.
so that'd be 1 and 2 and T and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 1 and 2 and T and 4 and 1 and 2 and T and 4 and 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 1 and 2 and T and 4 and. Does that make sense?
No.
Ah,
Where did the
okay.
T come in? Where's the T? And
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to be
So
playing the piano as
Oh.
I'm doing this homework. So if I'm recording this,
yeah, you just need to count it. So let me play it.
okay,
Let me bring this back and I'll
I
play it.
I could hear it if it's the recording of the music.
Perfect. Okay.
But the point here is what you want to hear when I am counting out on the recording.
Got it. So
Because-
first, let me say I automatically went into standard conductor counting, which is
Okay.
not 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's 1 and 2 and T and 4 and.
Oh,
I've never really thought it saves you that much, but it's just to eliminate the blend and the R together or whatever,
Where you take a
and to
sip
make
of
it
tea.
clear for your choir. But I don't know if it's helpful or not. I think just now it got confusing. 2 and T and 4 and 2 and T and 4 and 1 and 2 and T and 4. 1 and 2 and T and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and T and 4 and 1 and 2 and T and 4 and 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and T and 4 and. Does that make sense? That was the whole first page.
right. A little bit more.
Do you see where it changes
Yeah.
from a 4 count to
Yeah,
a 2 count
There's
to a
2
3
counts,
count?
3
Yeah.
counts, right.
And again, don't try to get it perfect. This is exactly the whole point of this exercise is to give me, you're all trying to get it perfect. I don't need perfect. It's to give me a sense of just where you are. That's it. In fact, it kind of needs to not be perfect. So don't try to get it perfect. What you will get from me is feedback about, again, like, here's what you hear the downbeat really, really clearly. You're hearing the phrasing really, really clearly. And then I'll be able to give you specific cues as to like, okay, where you're wanting to put 1 there is actually 3, but this is why you're hearing it this way. I can help troubleshoot it from there. So again, I can't stress enough, please don't try to get it perfect. That's not, I mean, it'll be impressive and I will be impressed and you will get a gold star. However, it might be more helpful to just send in the imperfect, just the tires are coming off this bus thing, and let me hear that and coach that.
Not a problem.
So like what I said in my homework, oh sorry, Farron, you were first. I'm sorry, just real quick on the
No, go
adding
ahead,
on to
Janine.
that. Is there a remedial quick YouTube course on counting different key signatures? Or not key signatures, but
Time
time signatures.
I will look for that. There might be.
How do you think there is?
Okay.
Hook
I
me
will
up,
look.
Heidi.
Because I was looking some up earlier. That's why.
Okay. The trick is gonna be finding a good one, but I'll do some homework. Heidi, in fact, let's look at what you were looking at together while we're together tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Farron.
I just want to say that I totally overcomplicated the homework assignment last week. I didn't get to recording it yet, but I did like write in all the little notations, and I totally thought that instead of just counting along to the beat the whole time, you wanted me to like only count the 1 and 2 and when it was eighth notes, and only like 1, 2, 3, 4 when it was quarter notes. So not to make that way
No.
more complicated than it need to be.
Well, and
Me
again,
too,
what
Farron. That's what I've been working on, and that's why it's
I
not
put all the
turned
rest
in.
in for
So me
parentheses.
that's like,
too.
no, just count your way through it. That's it. And preferably with the eighth note subdivision, so with the and in between the numbers, but just counting it so you get one, a visceral sense. Again, it does help to write in the counts above your line of music. It really does. The 1, the plus sign, the 2, the plus sign, or whatever, lining up as they line up above those notes. It really does help it. But then physically, when we're together, I'm going to hook into that skill and connect it to my conducting gesture and what I'm doing, particularly as I'm changing meter in my gesture. And so if you're familiar enough just to know, oh, this is where I lose it because it changes from 4 to 3, or this is where I lose it because it changes from 3 to 2 and then to 4, then you'll know why it's looking different when I'm doing differently up there. And so we also have, and I haven't talked about it, because this will be easier when we're together. We have a 5/4 measure in this movement that we just talked about as well, which we're going to manage as 2 plus 3. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And I'll explain that, but that'll be easier to explain when we can sing through it together. Does that make sense? So, but when you hit that 5/4 measure, it's literally just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and that's it. All in the same tempo, more or less. You'll hear it as it breathes in the live performance. Okay, other questions? Go ahead, Janine.
So when will we figure out what parts we're singing? Because if we're learning this, it was
Oh, good question. I kind of assumed that with everybody else here, and I shouldn't have with you, but I'm going to assume alto with you.
Okay.
As our
Unless
starting
you have too many
point.
altos.
Sorry?
Unless you already have too many altos.
Is
can
there
sing
such
soprano.
a thing as too many altos?
There
I'm
is
not
no
Terrible
sure.
thing to suggest.
There is such a thing as too many sopranos.
Okay.
Uh,
I'll do alto. That's
yeah,
fine.
so let me think about that. But no, I think alto.
Okay.
Yeah, I think alto.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
And I apologize. It's a
Practice
big
track-
oversight. Sorry, Maureen.
Practice tracks for our particular line, because some of
I
us
will-
are desperate to.
Okay,
actually
I
hear
will
music.
get those into the Google Classroom probably tomorrow. I wanted to double check them because they're computer generated from the score, because again, it's a custom commission. There's everything that's been done about this piece we've done. And so I wanted to double check them and make sure the file format they're in is accessible via the classroom. But I can do that tomorrow. And if they're not, I'll hand it off to my team at work to help get it in the proper format so we can get that up.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. So tomorrow it is at 6:30, not at 7 o'clock. And it will not be an hour. It will probably be closer to 45 minutes at the outset, maybe even a half hour. So, but I like this, spending a minute on every single movement, listening through it, talking about its challenges, identifying tips and tricks as the beginning. I like this, and being able to get this information in your brains as you're getting the music in your ear. I really it's a silver lining, because I probably wouldn't have taken this much time if we were in the rehearsal room. And I think it's going to be helpful, because once we're in rehearsal room, we're going to be racing. We're going to be racing and polishing. And if we get ahead, it won't be doing more whatever. If we get ahead, then I'm turning it into a group voice class, and we're just going to be working on technique together rather than these sorts of literacy and sorts of that sort of stuff. And logistics, we're not going to talk logistics on anything other than Zoom. So, because that way, one, it's recorded and I don't have to answer the same question every rehearsal. And two, we can get that. We can just focus our in-person time on singing. All right, well then that's all I have. Go forth and have fun with the music. All right, and have a great night. Thank you, Maureen, in particular, for working so hard to get in tonight. Thank you. Have a good
I'll
night.
listen to the rest of it on the recording.
Sounds good.
Bye.